Hi guys, welcome to this recording. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but it's something that I have thought about quite a bit, and I want to talk about the natal chart of, well, my favorite musician. So it's Björk, the Icelandic musician, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the aspects and positions that seem kind of relevant to me, that say a lot about her. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, insofar as I'm not going to go through every single aspect and things like that, but I just want to talk a little bit about what I see in this chart. So Björk was born on the 21st of November 1965 in Reykjavik, Iceland. Her birth time is thought to be around 7:50 a.m. and that's based on her own memory of being a triple Scorpio. So she knew that she has Sun, Moon, and Ascendant in Scorpio. Between you and I, I have seen another suspected chart of hers where I think she had Aries rising, but that's not one that is known and it's believed to be inaccurate. So this is the chart that people tend to use, and it seems to be quite relevant. So, the time that was sort of assigned for her birth chart was 7:50 a.m. in Reykjavik. So, like I said, Björk is, according to this chart at least, she is a triple Scorpio. And she has Neptune in Scorpio. So she has Sun, Moon, Ascendant, and Neptune all in Scorpio. It's a Scorpio stellium here. And that immediately speaks of her depth and her emotional power and her strong emotions. And I think she channels this a lot in her music. She even has a song called Pluto. She talks about how she's a triple Scorpio and how she relates a lot to the Scorpionic idea of extremes. So Scorpio as a sign generally doesn't like things halfway. It wants to kind of go all in, full enjoyment, full, working on projects all the way, going all the way. Deep relationships, nothing superficial, things like that. And so a lot of this kind of comes across in her music as well, which is what, most of us know her for. This kind of emotional depth and digging deeper into the psyche and digging deeper into the emotional depths of life. Very Scorpio. So, and Björk's music also is one thing about her music is that she likes to synthesize different types of musical information and different types of musical ideas. So she's not kind of stuck in one way of being. She wants to explore the whole gamut, if that's the right way of saying it, the whole spectrum, and doing it in a way where she goes, deep inside it, but at the same time she's very experimental, and so she uses a lot of different ideas and brings them together. And I find that that's kind of a Scorpio theme, is this kind of transformation of one thing to another, and kind of the synthesizing of different ideas and bringing things together in a way that kind of makes something else. So it's transforming, and it's very difficult to describe her music. I have thought about it a lot because I do listen to her a lot, but it's hard for me to articulate it really well, what the music stands for me. But I think her music partly does have this thing of just really exploring the unknown and exploring the depths and exploring different ideas and kind of bringing together different ideas into one and kind of transforming things. And so there's that. And what I will say that is also interesting is that Björk has Sun and Neptune in a conjunction here in the first house, and Sun-Neptune conjunctions are very interesting to me. generally speaking, it's kind of like there is a little bit of a vagueness in the person, or there's some intrigue around the person, and there's some kind of way that they are that is hard to figure out for the general public. And I think that in Björk's case, that is the case. And so it's kind of like it's hard for us to really figure out, or really maybe see her in a way that is just simple and just like, oh, that's just Björk. Like, it's more like there's so much intrigue around her character, and like, who is Björk and what does she really stand for, and like, who is she beyond her music, or who is she beyond the strange costumes and things like that. Like, who is Björk? And so Sun-Neptune conjunctions, I mean, it does represent also this kind of I would say confusion around the self. That can be a theme. So I have the Sun-Neptune square, and kind of confusion around the self and identity crisis has been a theme for me. And Sun-Neptune conjunctions, I mean, it kind of like, Sun is our identity and like our ego, and so Neptune kind of dissolves some of the ego, and it makes it more theatrical and like vague and watery, and there's like a mystery and an intrigue and a vagueness to it. So it's not like it's not as clear cut. And so I've noticed, Björk can come across kind of different in different situations, in different interviews. There's like a fluidity, there's like a watery energy. It's fluid. It doesn't necessarily remain the same. It's not like a concrete sort of personality. It's more creative. It's more watery. It's more sort of vague almost. And because this conjunction, it is quite a loose conjunction. So Neptune is at 20 degrees, Sun is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. But I would consider that a conjunction. It is in the first house of the self. So it is a very prominent theme in her character, and kind of what people are drawn to in her, or what people see in her, like when they are like exposed to her, so there's that. And also Neptune is conjunct the ascendant, so also dissolving some boundaries and dissolving some concreteness, so making things a bit more vague. Again, who is Björk? Making things a little bit more mysterious, intriguing for people to sort of speculate about. And Moon is in Scorpio. Obviously, Björk speaks in her music of emotional depths, different emotions. She's very much in touch with her feelings in her music, in the sense that like she conveys a lot of different feeling states and really gets inside it, and it's just magnificent to listen to, because of the sheer commitment to emotional catharsis in songs like Black Lake, Stone Milker maybe. It's just a lot of different songs that really convey that emotional catharsis in the music that is really indicative of a healthy Scorpio Moon expression, I think. So Scorpio Moon can be brooding, can be down in the depths, too much kind of maybe self-pitying, or just kind of feeling confusing, intense emotions. But the positive expression of the Scorpio Moon realm can be this kind of a creative expression and acceptance of your deepest, darkest parts, and transforming it into something else. In her case, like you could say, her music. So she feels the music, she feels the feelings, she feels the feels, she feels the feelings, really explores them, is not afraid of the depths, is not afraid of what might come out, because it's going to come out in a creative way in her case, because she makes music, and she sings. So this Moon in Scorpio in her case, I think, is indicative of just someone who's in touch with her deeper self, and this comes across in the music, and it also just is indicative of very strong emotions, very strong feelings, just strong reactions to situations, and obviously she can put them into song, which is fabulous for us. So, and also, I find it interesting, that Moon is trine Jupiter. So Moon in Scorpio trine, well, Jupiter is at 29 degrees of Gemini, but they're in a trine sort of relationship, and so that actually also amplifies the strong feelings and the strong scorpionic moods. Jupiter kind of expands and exalts things, and also her moon sextile Mars, which is quite tight actually. So moon in Scorpio at 6 degrees, Mars in Capricorn at 5 degrees, is also indicative of like a strength of feeling and not afraid of feelings and things like that. But then with her moon trine Saturn, so she has a trine between the moon and Jupiter, but also a moon and Saturn, so that brings a bit of self-control, I think, in her case. Sorry about that. Brings self-control where she's able to tame herself just enough, so to speak, tame her emotions just enough, so to speak, for things that like need to get done. That's how I would interpret that. And Moon is conjunct the ascendant, so there's a lot of conjunctions here. Moon is conjunct the ascendant, so again, very in touch with her own emotional self. But Moon is also in the 12th house in this Placidus system, so it just speaks of a bit more of an I suppose of a hidden realm of emotions, but can be very deep place in the 12th house. So that's interesting. So I will say I am using a free recording screen recording program, which it only allows me to record 10 minutes. So I already had to stop once, so I'll have to like edit different parts together. So bear with me. So her Mercury in Sagittarius is also interesting because, Mercury in Sagittarius is very exploratory and inventive and sort of or maybe not inventive, that's a better word for Aquarius Mercury, but Mercury in Sagittarius, for me, that would really signify like somebody who is forward looking at like what is possible in the future, what is possible in the world, like kind of more of an optimist. Björk describes herself as an optimist. Like even when she goes through dark times, she's still an optimist because she's still able to see in a very Sagittarius way, like what can be done with these feelings, or like what can I put this into, or why do I feel like this? And so there's value in that. So it's kind of an optimistic thinking style here, and can also be at times scattered or kind of unfocused. So the communication style as well can be a little bit more sort of rambly or unfocused, because you're kind of focused on like the next thing. You're focused on the future. You're focused on like the possibilities of the future. And so it's less grounded than, for example, her Capricorn planets might be. So her Venus, her Mars are in Capricorn. So that actually gives her a bit more of that groundedness, maybe in relationships, maybe in the way that she handles money. So these three planets are also in the second house. So she does have that, contrary to what people think, she does have that sort of like money sense, or like how to be practical with finances, and also like things that she values. So I think value and self-worth is important to her. Like she's kind of staying true to her own values and her own like what she finds value in, and her self-worth. I do find it interesting that Mercury has quite a few squares. So it's square Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, Chiron, and the MC. So Mercury squares would indicate that there is like a karmic challenge to do with communication, with the thinking. And, Björk has been open about how, like, she's not into small talk. She's more about, like, she wants to, sing, make the music, and get on with it. And so I think the daily life sort of interactions and the daily sort of, whatever you want to call it, like the daily sort of stuff, the daily stuff to do with like having to do interviews or certain parts of being a musician that maybe don't come as easy for her. I would say some of those things don't come as easy for her. Like she's more about like getting things done. Like even with her Mars in Capricorn, like it's very grounded. It's very results oriented. So she can go very intricate with her music, and she can sit for years, collecting sounds for an album, and then kind of intricately putting them together. So that's something that she has done, from what I understand. So very results oriented and meticulous. But with the Mercury squares, and also Saturn in the third house and Chiron in the third house here with the Placidus system, is indicative of someone that maybe has trouble with kind of just day-to-day interactions, communicating on a day-to-day basis. And this is something that she has talked about, is that like she's better at just like the the music and the creative expression and the singing, rather than kind of trying to mingle in day-to-day sort of more superficial sort of situations. So I think her Mercury squares kind of show that there is like an element of difficulty in the way that she communicates with people in day-to-day life, and just she's not the most mercurial person, I guess. If that's accurate, I'm not really sure how to describe that better, but her Mercury, I mean, it is so focused on the future and the possibilities and the positive expressions of like what might happen, and the optimism of what can be done, and like new inventions, and like what kind of music can I make with these instruments. So the third house is about day-to-day sort of communication and thinking. And so Saturn and Chiron in the third house here, as well as her Mercury squares, a lot of them are kind of adding to this challenge, I think, that she has, or is a representative of the challenges that she has when it comes to just day-to-day interacting and kind of getting your point across in a way that is more just light and airy and just carefree. Like she tends to go very deep in her interviews at times. And Saturn in the third as well is kind of a deep thinker. Is a serious kind of person who's results oriented. Also, her Mars in Capricorn is like that as well. And so I think Björk is in some ways actually an old soul, or someone who's more serious in some ways and wants to kind of has her eye on like the bigger picture, Mercury in Sagittarius, and doesn't want to necessarily do all this kind of small talk and day-to-day maintenance and day-to-day living, day-to-day situations. Like Saturn in the third house, more serious, more of a serious communicator. I mean, she definitely has a sense of humor. Mercury in Sagittarius is very indicative of that. And also Sun conjunct Neptune can be very kind of like whimsical, or like a bit more sort of fantastical and mysterious and like theatrical. So that's definitely a theme in her. And then the Saturn in the third house, that's kind of like the other side of it, is like that actually she's interested as well in like just more like results oriented and less about the day-to-day chatting and things like that. So a few more things I want to mention. I can't go through everything here, but I do want to mention Venus sextile Neptune. So when I first kind of started looking at Björk's chart, I immediately looked at if she has an aspect between Venus and Neptune, because that's a very kind of a dreamy, theatrical, artistic, creative aspect. I have the trine between Venus and Neptune, and I'm very interested in like music. I like art and things like that. So it's a bit more of a fantastical, romantic, artistic, musical sort of energy. And she does have the sextile. So Venus at 15 degrees of Capricorn, sextile Neptune at 20 degrees of Scorpio. So it's not it's not a very tight sextile, but it's there. And so that is indicative of, that there is an energy between Venus and Neptune that is sort of graceful and like musical and artistic and like romantic. And there's a sextile. So a sextile is kind of like indicative of an opportunity. So you have to harness it. It's maybe harder to notice in somebody, but once they harness it, once they start to use it, they go all in with it. It can create beautiful things. So a trine that I have is more of like a really like easy flowing, more instant energy, if that makes sense. Sextiles are a little bit more, there's a bit more of an intrigue, there's a bit more of a subtlety, I guess, when it comes to the aspect. So it's maybe harder to notice, but like once you take the opportunity to use it, that's when the aspect really begins to make good things for you and your life. And I also want to mention that she does have this beautiful Uranus-Pluto conjunction, and that is conjunct her MC. So Uranus conjunct the MC, indicative of somebody who is seen as like unusual or strange or innovative in the public eye. Definitely things that Björk's public image is like. And the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything with Uranus is in the public eye. So Uranus is very innovative, is very intuitive. Words that I would use to describe Björk and her music. But it can also be sort of very out there and eccentric and difficult for people to pin down, which is not a bad thing, but it's just the way it is. And Pluto also. So Pluto is a very important planet in her natal chart because she does have the Scorpio ascendant, and the Sun and Moon and Neptune are all in Scorpio. And then Pluto is conjunct the MC. So this intensity, this extreme personality is seen by the public, the MC. And in her career, it's expressed in her work. They have a song called Pluto, where she talks about catharsis, emotional catharsis. And it is a very Plutonic sort of song. Very interesting. And Pluto is also square Mercury. So that's one of the Mercury squares. Mercury is actually square both Pluto and Uranus here. So that's very indicative of her sort of, her mind being very inventive, original, independent, but can also be rebellious, difficult for others to understand. And Mercury square Pluto is very intense in the mind, like a very intense thinker and communicator. So Björk has said that like she tends to kind of communicate a lot or kind of withdraw and not really communicate at all. So when she communicates, she wants to give 100% of the when she's communicating, but then she kind of goes off and does her own thing and just is on her own for a long time and doesn't talk so much. So, and even in her music, you notice that like she's really giving her all, and she's really focusing. Mars in Capricorn as well, really focusing on like what the results need to be and what she wants to convey. And so she can sit for long periods of times, collecting the sounds or programming, arranging, producing, writing. And so that is a way for her to express herself and really go all in rather than just kind of casually communicating. She really goes all in to her. She gives her all to her music, that I could talk about. I did just want to mention quickly that, she does have a lot of water. Sun, Moon, Neptune ascendant in Scorpio, Saturn and Chiron in Pisces. And then quite a bit of earth. So that's the grounded side of her, and then not that much air here, and not that much fire actually. Mercury is in Sagittarius. There's nothing in Leo, nothing in Aries, but those are still sides of her. She just doesn't have them activated by a planet or anything like that. So there's that. And also I do want to mention the North Node in Gemini. So that is again for me related to her Mercury being a little bit afflicted with all these squares, and then Saturn and Chiron in the third house. Because North Node in Gemini is maybe showing that her path is to learn how to communicate in a way that is more everyday, more day-to-day, able to kind of show interest in like the environment around her, just in day-to-day life. And so that is interesting because Saturn and Chiron in the third house here would show that like she does have some sort of pain or karma when it comes to just trying to get yourself across, trying to get your words across just in day-to-day life. And so I think it's beautiful that like she turned to music and singing to kind of communicate her deeper self to others, rather than just kind of trying to do a lot of small talk or something when that doesn't come naturally to her. I hope that makes sense. I hope this isn't too rambly. I feel like I say that in every video. But so North Node in Gemini is indicative of sort of needing, it's an invitation to look at more data and gather more data, be the information junkie, rather than kind of staying stuck in your own beliefs like Sagittarius would indicate here with the South Node in Sagittarius. So look around you, look at what there is, and learn how to communicate what there is. Learn how to communicate with courage and enthusiasm, like what you see around you, So there's that. There is so much more that I could probably touch on, but these are some of the things that I have noticed the most about Björk's chart that I feel are relevant, that I wanted to talk about. So this is just a bit of fun. I'm not... there is no other real reason behind this except that it's fun to look at people's charts, who you admire or who you artists that you like and things like that. So it's just intriguing and it's a bit of practice. So I hope that gives some kind of overview of Björk's chart here with the Placidus system. And I hope it was interesting, and I hope it was thought-provoking. Maybe you learned something about aspects, or you learned something new about astrology or Björk. So there's more that I could say, but I just want to leave it at that now. So thank you very much for listening. And if you like this content, please subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you like this video. And if you'd like a reading from me, please email mattothinks@gmail.com. So it's my YouTube username @gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.